Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our first meeting of September for the Municipality of West Perth Council. Before we begin our meeting, I would ask maybe that we would have a moment of reflection. And I'm going to ask that maybe our thoughts be with people affected by the adverse weather conditions tonight. I understand Port Elgin and some of the areas to the north got hit pretty hard, so we can remember them. Also want you to remember Lou Maloney passed away this past week, and he was a counselor, former counselor on the Township of Hibbert, and then he was on the first and I believe the second term of West Perth Council. So we'll just have a moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is confirmation of the agenda. Do we have a mover and seconder to confirm the agenda as it was sent out? Councillor Marshall and Councillor Rose. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. It takes me a little longer to do the hands here because I have to look around the room and I can pick some of you up. I have two computer screens here, one pointing this way, one pointing that way, and then I look up at the screen here. So bear with me as we go along. All right, does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda tonight? Okay, I don't see any hands going up. So we have a consent agenda here, and there's 5 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything that anybody would like some clarification on or would like pulled and dealt with separately? Okay, again, I don't see any hands going up. So a motion would be in order that we accept the consent agenda. Moved by Councillor Murray and seconded by Councillor Tam. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. All right, we do have a delegation tonight. And I don't see her yet, but I'm sure she's going to join us. And we have with us Maggie Martin from the Perth County Connect, the transportation system. And while we're waiting for her to come on, there's Maggie. Welcome to West Perth, Maggie. And I'm going to give you an interesting little fact about Maggie that probably most of you don't know. And Maggie is related to a very famous Listowel person. The fact that he's from Listowel, we won't hold against him. But Corey Connors, a well-known golfer, is actually Maggie's brother-in-law. Am I right, Maggie?
That is right. Yes, fun fact.
Okay, I always like to give a little bit of offhanded history there. So, and it never hurts if he's a well-off golfer either. So Maggie, I'll just turn the floor over to you, and you have a presentation to make. So go right ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So through your worship, my name is Maggie Martin, and I'm the Transit Project Coordinator at the County of Perth. And I'm just joining you all this evening to provide a brief update on the PC Connect service and our operations to date. So for those of you who may not be as familiar with the project, PC Connect is our all-new community transportation service that provides residents with an alternative and affordable method of transportation in order for people to reach basic needs such as groceries, employment, healthcare, social services, and even social and recreational activities. So we successfully launched the service on November 16th of 2020. And in just 9 short months of operation, we've completed a total of 970 rides on our 2 Perth County routes. So evidently, the environment that we launched in and continue to operate under have been less than ideal and have presumably negatively impacted our ridership. However, as both COVID-19 restrictions and rider hesitancy decreases, our ridership is expected to continue to grow at a positive growth rate. So in order to create the safest environment possible for our riders, we do continue to work closely with our partners, such as the MTO and the Huron-Perth Public Health Unit, in order to determine and implement the best practices in terms of COVID-19 precautions and prevention. So today we do continue to enforce a number of COVID-19 precautions on board all of our PC Connect buses. And these include 50% reduced capacity, mandatory face coverings, as well as increased sanitization practices. So in order to educate residents about PC Connect, we have been executing a multimedia marketing campaign that leverages a variety of different marketing channels in order to reach our very diverse target markets. So just to name a few, we have launched a series of radio advertisements with multiple local radio stations. We've had targeted social media advertisements, digital billboards, as well as print advertisements through both local publications and newspapers. So since our marketing efforts have commenced, which was mid-July, when some restrictions and the stay-at-home orders were lifted, and since then we've reached 40,000 viewers in just 1 month of paid social media ads. We've seen a 100% increase in PC Connect call center volume, 86% increase in PC Connect website traffic, and our ridership has increased by an average of 25% month over month. In addition to marketing and advertising, we're also focusing our efforts on community outreach and promoting PC Connect to different services and social groups, employers and school boards throughout the county and surrounding areas. So to date, we have educated a variety of residents through presentations to organizations such as Conestoga Careers College, Employ, Will Employment Connections, Avo-Maitland District School Board, and the Stratford Rotary Club. So community outreach is ongoing and it continues to be a top priority for staff. We're also working on introducing a new PC Connect app that will allow riders to track the bus in real time, secure their seat in advance, as well as pay for the ride using a variety of different payment methods other than cash, simply at the tip of their fingers. So we're extremely excited to be able to introduce this new PC Connect feature. And we're really confident that the app will not only enhance the overall rider experience, but it'll also enable us to capture powerful data that will really be vital to the sustainability of the PC Connect project. So as you may be aware, the initial grant funding provided by the Government of Ontario was to fund a transportation pilot project until March of 2023. However, the county recently received notice from the government that they will be extending the project with additional provincial funding for another 2 years, which would take us until March of 2025. So just last week, Perth County Council approved staff's recommendation to accept the funding extension and continue to operate this service as it is until the funding's exhausted, which will provide staff with the necessary time to collect ridership data, improve capacity, and really work with our community partners in order to secure additional funding to operate for the full extension. So more details are expected to be provided by the community transportation team in the upcoming months. However, we are extremely grateful for the opportunity to extend the PC Connect project in order to pursue a long-term sustainable service, and we really look forward to growing our ridership in order to do so. So with that, my brief update report is before you, and I'm happy to address any comments, questions, or concerns that you may have.
Thanks, Maggie. Questions for Maggie to do with the transportation system? No questions at all? Okay. We see it buzzing through town at different intervals throughout the day, so it's great. And obviously it's a service that certainly was indicated was needed. So yeah, as you mentioned in your report, couldn't have probably picked a worse time to launch something like what we've done. But anyways, thank you very much, Maggie. Appreciate your report, and maybe next time we'll have you come in person.
That would be great. Thanks so much. Thanks for your time and have a great night.
Good. We'll see you. All right. The next item on the agenda then is from the planning department, and Susanna Reed there, Susanna, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about a planning matter, a municipal consultation for a proposed cell tower. So Susanna, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So this is a proposed cell tower. The cell tower is proposed for 3953 Road 160 in the Fullerton Ward, which is the Worstenbach farm. It's a 53-acre property, and it's designated agricultural and zoned agricultural in the West Perth zoning bylaw. Cell tower locations are regulated through the Radio Communication Act. So the application has been circulated to the municipalities and included in the council package in order to receive comments from the municipality. That said, the municipal zoning bylaw is not applicable for the siting of radio communication towers or cell towers. So the information that you have in your package summarizes the public consultation efforts that have been undertaken by the proponent on behalf of ExploreNet, and the circulation to neighboring property owners, an inclusion of a notice in the Mitchell Advocate. No comments were received as a result of the proponent's circulation, and the planning department is providing a report to council, the recommendation that council provide comments that you do not have any concerns, or sorry, don't have any comments. I also note that Jacqueline Johnston is on the call tonight representing ExploreNet, and she would be able to provide more details regarding the specific application.
Okay, thanks, Susanna. Is there any questions for Susanna with regards to this bit of information? Closer? Okay.
I can't hear you, Walter. I don't know if anybody else can.
No, as soon as you moved the microphone, Walter, we stopped being able to hear you.
Vice. That better? Oh, I can hear it now. There. Okay, very good. I think I'm too close. Okay. I digress. Is there any questions? Is there any questions with regards to the tower? We do have Jacqueline Johnson online. If you had any pertinent questions with regards to the tower. Okay, I don't see anybody putting their hands up at all. So we do have a recommendation here. And the recommendation is that council provide correspondence to Four Brothers Limited Telecommunications Services, stating that West Perth does not have any comments regarding the proposed cell tower proposed to be located at north part of Lot 20, Concession 1, 3953 Road 160 of the Fullerton Ward. Do we have a mover and seconder for that motion? Councillor Murray and Councillor Marshall. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Suzanne. All right, the next item up is a site plan agreement for Advantage Machine and Tool. And is Bob doing this one? Okay, so he's not up there yet, but he will be coming. No, Bob? Which one of you fearless leaders would like to take a stab at this one?
Okay, I'll take care of the report. So the report was circulated with the agenda. If there's any questions from council, between Dan and myself, we'll do our best to answer them.
That was short and sweet. Okay, any questions at all? If not, we do have a recommendation here, and it's that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receive the report titled Site Plan Agreement, Advantage Machine and Tool Inc. as information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Tam, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm trying to spread my business around here. And Deputy Mayor Ite. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item up then is Operation Manager's Report, and it's the August-September activity report. So Mike is up there. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Your Worship, and the rest of council. So this report is based on August and September's activity report and some upcoming recommendations. The first item is health and safety. We're planning our third quarter health and safety meeting for September, and we'll be also conducting our winter operations planning and training in October as per usual. Operations, you can see, are completed and ongoing projects. Is there any questions or concerns arising from any of those activities? Okay, seeing none. Tenders and contracts before you. The Nelson Street Reconstruction Project Phase 3 is moving along quite well. We're on schedule for that. All the services are installed, and we'll be starting the Earth X. So putting in back the granular B and A, and then curb to be followed shortly after that. So we are on schedule for that project. We completed structure 028F on the boundary of Road 140 with Perth South. And we also started our St. Andrew Street Bridge, which is structure 03M. And our connecting link paving contract, I'm still waiting for the signed contracts back. However, no meeting was scheduled for this week, so we are going to be delayed on that anticipated commencement. We were hoping that they were going to actually start this week for that project. And then also in preventative maintenance, we did some fiber matting on line 28, and we did an additional section on that. Is there any questions regarding any of those projects? Okay, seeing none. The Connecting Link Winter Maintenance 2021-2022 season is upon us. Once again, the Owen Sound Maintenance Group have offered entering into a winter maintenance servicing agreement with us. The differences from last year's agreement versus this one is a cost of living increase, which is a total of $748.26 increase over last year's price. My recommendation is once again to enter into this contract with Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited for the upcoming 2021-2022 winter season.
Okay, any questions with regards to any of that for Mike?
Okay.
Go ahead then, Mike. Anything else?
Winter operations plan is before you. Everything that is highlighted yellow is the changes that are been made over last year's plan. It's mostly personnel and equipment and route changes. Just with those typical individuals doing those routes now because of retirements. And also late last year, we implemented 2 winter maintenance policies regarding COVID and declaring significant winter events. So those are also now in our plan. Is there any questions regarding our winter operations plan?
Question from Councillor Tronkowski.
Through you, Your Worship. Mike, I guess maybe more of a comment rather than questions. or feedback. I guess the first item was snow fencing. I received comments from the ratepayers after last winter that they were concerned, or they noticed the positioning of the snow fencing was too close to the road, and the snow fencing was being torn apart by the snow plowing work on the side roads. So I just wanted to draw that to your attention. And I guess it's almost becoming, the next point was about the graveling, the shouldering of the paved roadways. There was concerns last season about plowing the gravel shouldering into the ditches. So I guess just a reminder, or I guess just recovering that topic from last year, that we're hoping to see an improvement with less gravel being plowed off the shoulders and onto the ditches.
Yeah. To first address the question regarding the snow fence, that was because of the modernization grant and that recommendation to test trial snow fencing to see if we could eliminate some of the drifting snow. So last year we installed some of that snow fencing, and we were only able to install it on our road allowances, which is 66 feet, where the typical distance for where you'd want the installation of the snow fence would be 50 feet back from the center line of the road. And that means that we would be entering onto private property, and we would have to enter into letters of understanding or agreements with those property owners to be permitted to be on their lands. The trial didn't really work last year. It's primarily based on the location of the snow fence. And the County of Perth is, I believe, implementing an agreement or something to be done this season for us to possibly look at for having a contract or a letter of understanding to be developed. The second question regarding the graveling, we will be not doing any graveling resurfacing or installing fresh gravel on our shoulders. That happened last year. We did have a bad section on line 36, which we did. And there was a misunderstanding with one of our laborers. So that situation will not be occurring this season.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, anything else, Mike, at this time?
Not regarding the winter operations plan. There will be one more revision to that plan. That's just because of last week, we also had another retirement. So I'm sure you guys seen that email come out this afternoon. Just a reminder too, the leaf pickup after Thanksgiving, we'll be commencing our leaf pickup. And once again, we'll be stressing this on social and all media and stipulating that clear plastic bags and paper bags be placed out at the curb. Equipment disposal, on October 16th, we placed our 2008 1-ton on GovDeals. And just to let everyone know that we received $26,500 for that unit, which is an extremely great price. So we're happy with that. And also just to let you know that we also, good news comes bad news. We blew up an engine on one of our tandem dump trucks, which was slated to be assist our downtown snow removal this year. We always have 2 backup units to assist in that process. And the cost to replace that engine is over $40,000 plus incidentals. And it's just not feasible to spend that money for a truck when all said and done would be only worth maybe $8,000 to $10,000. So what we're, with the council's permission or notification, I'm going to declare that surplus and put that on GovDeals to see if we could have any interested parties wanting maybe potentially the box or other components of that truck. Is there any questions regarding the equipment?
Any questions for Mike? Okay, a question that I'm sure some of you people had last year, and I know I have received it, is with regard to the leaf pickup. And we give them the option of clear plastic or paper. And there's always a discussion, and I know you've been asked this before, about why we just don't go with paper, because it composts and they don't have to rip them open or dump them out or whatever. You want to comment on that, Mike?
It is. The paper bags are largely beneficial for us. We spend many days and hours at the landfill ripping these bags open. However, there is a financial component for the difference in the cost of the paper bags versus the plastic. You can buy the plastic bags for $6 for 25 or 50 huge clear plastic bags versus maybe 3 or 4 for that price. But it's a financial thing that if council wishes to go one way or the other, I'm totally open to it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, last call. Any other questions? Do you have anything further, Mike?
No, I don't.
Okay. Get my motion out here. So if there's no further questions to ask Mike, recommendation is that the Municipality of West Perth accepts the August-September Operation Manager's Activity Report and the 2021-22 Winter Operations Plan as presented, and it's going to be amended, as he said, and that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth authorizes entering into an agreement with Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited for winter maintenance services within the connecting link on Highway 8 and 23, Mitchell Ward, Municipality of West Perth, for the 2021-2022 season in the amount of $24,131.92 plus HST. Do I have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Marshall, Councillor Harold. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, next item up on our agenda is from our treasurer, and Wendy is here. So Wendy, I'll just turn it over to you.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Just as far as the report, I don't really have anything to add to it. I did want to mention, though, that the 2020 audit is wrapping up, which is really great. The auditors have been able to gain some ground for us, and they're hoping to have the financial statements prepared for November. So that's all I have.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Wendy on Councillor Tunkowski?
Through you, your worship. So Wendy, with that progress on the 2020 audit, you don't foresee any circumstances or reasons for delays with applying for grants for the 2022 season?
No, I don't. We will be late in filing our FIR. It was due in August, but we were late last year and grants flowed through. So I've notified the province that we'll be late, but we should be able to get everything filed some point in November. So we should be back on schedule.
And as a follow-up question on the FIR in particular, what's the anticipated completion of that report to the government? What's the anticipated completion time or date?
So the auditors haven't pinpointed exactly the date in November, but along with the financial statements comes the filing of the FIR. So it'll go hand in hand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Wendy? Okay, seeing none. Recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receive the audit planning report for information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose, Councillor Bell, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item then is Clerk's Department and about upgrades in the office with regards to software and that. Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon, Council. Before you today is a request to allocate $15,000 from the Municipal Modernization Reserve into regular operating expense IT software account. The purpose for the request is back in March 2020, Laserfish software was purchased by staff. In a review to date, it was the basic edition, and I think there's an opportunity here where we can upgrade that and have the option to automate workflows through the software. This would include accounts payable, accounts receivable. It would include forms on our website. In addition to that, it would also automate retention period, which is very useful in the clerk's department. One of the reasons, again, we're looking for the allocation is to have a consultant come in and help us with implementation. Just to be frank, it's a bit above current staff's knowledge of software. We have the software installed, but it is not operational because there needs to be work done on the back end. That is something that we had purchased through RICO, and you'll note that we're getting the credits to put towards a copier. The level of service provided, we just need a more personal touch in-house. But if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions for Dan with regards to that information? Okay, I don't see anybody's hands going up, so the recommendation that we have is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth approves the allocation of $15,000 from the Municipal Modernization Reserve Funds to the Administration Expense Account, IT software and support for the implementation and upgrade of Laserfish Enterprise Content Management ECM software. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? And I'm looking at the screen. Thank you, Councillor Matheson. And do we have a seconder? Anna Marie, Councillor Murray, thank you. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And the next item is with regards to the 2022 municipal election. Dan, take it away.
Thank you again, Your Worship. At our last meeting, Council had provided direction to the clerk to prepare a bylaw to utilize electronic and telephone voting. At that meeting, we also committed to provide options to Council moving forward. Before Council today are all those options. I will not go into detail, but we'll put forward that we are proposing to do electronic telephone voting for the advanced voting. And then on the day of, we'd look to have a traditional paper ballot poll with an optical tabulator counter. And we would also work to have a polling station at the Ritz on that day, a temporary one. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to address them. And I will also just highlight one thing in the report. So it's very clear that going this route is attuned to going to a vendor that we were with last year. There's a high chance that that will be the vendor we're with.
Okay, questions for Dan on this topic? There was a fair bit of discussion at the last meeting with regards to this. Any further discussion tonight? Councillor Rose?
I would just like to say I'm happy to see that the paper ballot will be available for some of our seniors or such, or whoever feels that that's the way they want to vote. I think that was a good move for us. So thank you.
Thanks for the comments, Murray. Good. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, Dean. Go ahead, Councillor Trinkowski.
I think Councillor Vink had a question also, or
okay.
I'll let him go first.
Councillor Vink.
Could I also use the internet voting method on election day? So if I haven't voted up to that point yet, can I also vote by internet on the day of?
Thank you, Councillor, and through your worship. No, you cannot. The reason being is that after the advanced polls, we have to basically close the voter list and print a new one. If we opened electric voting on the day of, you could essentially vote in your car and then walk in and vote in paper. And we wouldn't have an updated voter list in time. So we have to draw the line somewhere on the electronic versus the in-person.
Councillor Changowski.
Through you, Your Worship, I guess I'm a comment and then a question. The comment, I guess, reiterating what Councillor Rose had said. I appreciate staff's flexibility and the flexibility shown from my fellow councillors on this issue and bringing back the paper ballot. There was a lot of ratepayer citizen discontent over losing that option and frustration, as we're all well aware of the telephone voting system. So again, thank you to all for showing some flexibility in coming up with this modified voting arrangement. My question is the polling stations. Where will the polling stations be located? You mentioned Ritzville, but where else will the polls be located for the paper ballot during election day?
Thank you, Council. At this point, we don't have those type of details narrowed down. We're hoping to look to go out and procure. So once we know how many counting tabulators we can get, that would dictate how many in-person polling stations we can get. I think at this point, at a minimum, we'd be looking at the new administration municipal office. We'd be able to have one directional flow of traffic there. And then, as I said, we'd have that temporary just at the Ritz for the residents there. And then from there, we'd have to see where we lie with tabulators, manpower, and everything else. So today is just really more of getting council's blessing to move forward with procuring this.
That's fine. Thank you.
So you would also need an additional ballot at the Mitchell Nursing Home as well. I doubt if those two will be merged by the fall. They might be, I don't know, but you know, like you'd have to keep that in mind. Question I have, Dan, are we renting these tabulators? Like, is there a place you rent them, or we have to purchase them?
Thank you again. They are available for purchase. I would have to go back and get a price. I know they are expensive, and they're expensive to ship as well because they're a fairly fragile unit. We'd be looking to rent, and that's ultimately our issue, is that our volume of renting a tabulator is, we wouldn't need a lot compared to a bigger city or organization. So we're kind of fighting over the leftovers, so to speak. So as I think I indicated, at the end of September, we should have a better idea of what's out there from other vendors that are more attuned to the electronic and online telephone voting vendors.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Any other questions for Dan with regards to the election process? Okay, if not, I do have a recommendation here, and it's that the Municipality of West Perth approves the amended 2020, nope, sorry, wrong one. The Municipality of West Perth accept the 2022 municipal election report dated September the 7th, 2021 as information. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Rose and Councillor Changowski. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, the next one is also Dan's report, and it's with regards to amending the West Perth council meeting. So, Dan?
Thank you again, Your Worship. Hopefully pretty simple one. We're just looking for council to direct staff to move the scheduled meeting date from the Monday of the federal election to the next day of the Tuesday.
Comments from anybody? Okay. Motion is then that the Municipality of West Perth approves the amended 2021 West Perth Council meeting schedule as presented. And we have a mover and seconder for that. Deputy Mayor Ait and Councillor Rose. All those in favor? That is carried. So we will be meeting on the Tuesday night on the 21st after the election. And I believe it's staff's wish to do a survey at some point in time, either just before that or right after that. Dan, are you want to do that with regards to how we conduct our meetings from there on?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Staff thought it would be best to get a survey out hopefully tomorrow to council, just to see how council is liking the hybrid versus the Zoom. Additionally, if there were any direction council wanted to provide right now, we'd be happy to hear it and take that direction, but we thought the survey would be the best mode.
Just for information, and you can be on the lookout for that to come. Okay, moving on. We did vote on that, didn't we, Labitza? I think we did. Yep. Okay. Moving on, correspondence. We have a letter from the West Perth Firefighters Association with regards to the annual muscular dystrophy annual boot drive. That is just for information. Is there a motion needed for that at all? No, no motion. We just go ahead and let it happen unless somebody has a reason why it shouldn't, right? Okay, council reports, Upper Thames River Conservation Authority meeting on August 24th. And I have to admit, I couldn't open that on my computer at home. So I'm going to look at Anna Marie to give us the detailed summary.
No, I'm not going to give you a detailed summary, Walter. If you have any questions, I'll take them under consideration.
Perhaps what we can do is just add it to the next council agenda and get the correct link and just bring it next time.
So did everybody else experience the same problem I had, that we couldn't open it? Okay, I thought maybe it was just me. I didn't know. Okay, well, we'll put it in our next package then and have a look at it at that point in time. The Mitchell Business Improvement Area, the minutes are there. Councillor Bell?
I think they're pretty self-explanatory unless anyone has a question.
Any questions for Councillor Bell on the BIA minutes? All right. If not, moving on, recommendation is that the Municipality of West Perth accepts the reports from staff and councillors as presented, and further that all committee members or committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with by resolution be received and filed. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Marshall, Councillor Rose. Sorry, Dan.
Just on the note from CAO Brick there, if we're going to bring the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority item forward at the next meeting, we should just amend the motion so that we're just accepting the Mitchell BIA report as information.
Okay. So noted. Okay. All right. So it's been duly moved and seconded. That's okay, the mover and seconder. All right. Any further questions on any of that? Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Right, we do have a few bylaws here. Just put them up here. We have 5 bylaws to deal with. Bylaw Z250 is an amending bylaw, removing the holding provision on Park Lot 4, Registered Plan 339. Bylaw 66, 2021 is a collection of costs on the Russell Evans Municipal Drain. Bylaw 67 is the execution of a Ministry of Transportation connecting link agreement for the 2021-2022 winter maintenance services that we had talked about previously. Bylaw 68 is a bylaw authorizing the execution of a site plan agreement between the Municipality of West Perth and Advantage Machine and Tool at 155 Huron Road in Mitchell. So do we have a mover and seconder so that the Council of Municipality of West Perth gives first, second, and third and final reading to zoning bylaws at 250, bylaws 66, 67, and 68. A mover and seconder for that. Nicholas, thank you. And a seconder. Councillor Murray. Any questions on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Coming events, list there of upcoming council meetings, and the first one we have to tweak, it will be September the 21st instead of the 20th. There's a special council meeting, I just draw your attention to that on the 26th of October, and that will be a closed council meeting to deal with asset management workshop. Notices of motion. Councillor Bell has a motion there. I will read the motion, and then we'll have a bit of discussion perhaps on that. And the motion is that West Perth direct the Director of Operations to consider at least one rainbow crosswalk to be located in downtown Mitchell and or on Francis Street East at both schools, and that the council also directs the Director of Operations to consider, as part of the 2022 capital budget, overhead pedestrian activated crosswalks and or visible overhead pedestrian signage in downtown Mitchell on Ontario Road. Sherry, I'll let you start off if you wish.
Sure. I don't know. It's pretty self-explanatory, really. I just feel that rainbow sidewalks are more than just a symbol of pride. It's a recommendation or recognition that we're a community of diversity. I think it's really good to have a visual representation every time folks drive through their streets. They see that our municipality supports inclusion and diversity. In a perfect world, if I could just say what I'd like to see all four corners at our intersection of Highway 8 and 23. I'd like to see all four sidewalks done in the square, and I'd like to see in front of both schools too. I mean, and that's if I could do everything. I think that four corner would be really, and it makes our downtown, we've been talking a lot at the BIA as well about how to make the downtown pop and look nicer and brighter and more inviting. And I just thought all four, I mean, that's in a perfect world. If we were to do it all and I could just say what I'd like, that's what I would like. And as far as the crosswalks go, it's something that I think a lot of people have maybe commented to a few councillors about how difficult it is to cross on those two main, the one at St. Andrew Street and the one up just a little bit. I'd like to see the pedestrian crosswalk sign across the top. Maybe it lights up if we have an activated, or at the very, very least, just the pedestrian crosswalk signs to warn traffic. It's very difficult to cross there, especially if you're a senior or someone with little kids. It's great that we have less land to cross. It's still very difficult to cross.
Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit.
Sure.
Sherry, you're going to move that?
I am so.
Okay, do we have a second for that motion? Councillor Murray, thank you. Now, discussion. Sherry has already indicated her comments, which is fine. Any other discussion on this? No. Oh, Nicholas, sorry, go ahead.
I was wondering what Sherry thought about the pedestrian crosswalk at Henry Street, whether she felt that was sufficient or not sufficient or doing its job. Have you heard any feedback?
I think being as it's the first day of school, I haven't had any feedback. And when I regret to say that when I drove through, it was after school had come and gone. So I'd like to go and see it in action to give you that answer, Nicholas.
Anybody else? Deputy Mayor,
I saw where Mike's camera came on there. I know he'd have to do a lot of work, I'm sure, with the MTO for downtown, but as long as we remember that the one in the middle by Godfathers isn't a crosswalk, I'm sure Mike can tell you that. So it's not, neither's the one at Value Mart. So it would just be the one at the St. Andrew Street corner. I got one at Henry Street, and I'm sure that maybe there could be one there, but you wouldn't want on a Friday night 5 stops in those 2 blocks. But I could see them being, if you could try to get one at the CIBC corner there.
I know personally, I'd be happy with that if we could do it pedestrian activated.
Mike, do you have any comments? I'll tell you where I thought we would maybe go is let you come back with some comments, a report, and maybe some prices if you want. But do you have any comments at this time?
I have no problem with the rainbow pedestrian crossings, we'd have to hire a special contractor to come in and do that. I believe our line marker guy out of Stratford doesn't have that capability. He might, but I can inquire about that. And I have to remind council that when we did the downtown streetscape in 2015, we were thinking about doing the overhead pedestrian crossings and everything else at the St. Andrew location on downtown. And it was decided it wasn't going to be requested or needed. So we didn't plan any of the electrical or any of that for that purpose. So it would be almost nearly impossible to do now, other than ripping up everything, all the concrete, and also where the location of those pedestrian signs would be located in the bump out areas, because they have to be a certain distance away from the traveled portion of the road so the vehicle traffic can see it. And that would then hinder our downtown snow plowing operations. So that was the main reason why we made the bump outs a level crossing to begin with. I just wanted to remind council of that's what was decided back in 2015.
Okay, Mike, Councillor Bell?
Mike, what about just an overhead, that goes across, that says crosswalk at the very least? If we can't do pedestrian activated because of electrical, what about just those ones that go across that says pedestrian crossing on it as a warning?
We'd have to install 2 poles, whether they could be anchored and securely done. And I'd have to contact someone like Earth or someone to do that. I'm not sure how that works.
Can you would you be able to look into the possibility or what's all involved with that?
Yes, I can.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's part of, we'll let Mike come back with a report and some numbers to go with that as to what's possible or not possible. Any other questions or comments with regards to this? Okay, it's been duly moved and seconded, and I think we've had the discussion. All those in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? That motion is carried. Did I miss one? 9.5. I missed one. Back up. Sorry. And what did I not? Oh, 9.5. Oh. Okay. Sorry. We'll back up 9.5. I missed that. That's bylaw 69, being a bylaw to authorize the use of optical scan vote tabulators for the purpose of counting votes in the municipal election, and the use of internet telephone as an alternate voting method for the 2022 municipal election and subsequent municipal elections. The recommendation there is that gives first reading, and we're only doing first reading on this one so that it'll come back and we can do second and third at a later date. So first reading for bylaw 69, 2021. Do we have a mover and seconder for that bylaw? Councillor Marshall and a seconder, Councillor Bell. Any further discussion on that? We kind of thrashed that one out in Dan's report. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Next item is other business, and Mitchell Fish and Game tax status. And I'm not sure if Wendy is still available here or not, but Deputy Mayor Wright? Yep, Wendy's here too. Deputy Mayor Wright?
So it came to my attention about a week ago that the Fish and Game Club is fundraising, and I asked them for what, and they said to pay their taxes. I said, well, that's funny. The county owns that property. It's a recreational property. Most of them don't have taxes. So I got in contact with Corey Bridges, the treasurer at the county, who got in touch with Laurie O'Connell, the tax collector at West Perth, who both got in contact with John McClellan, the roads manager for the county. And right now they're all trying to figure out why there's taxes, a residential tax on a piece of county owned property that's leased to the Fish and Game Club. So this is just to kind of get you heads up. Maybe Wendy will tell me. I'm going to get them to, if it's not tax exempt, I'm going to get them to come to council, county, and West Perth in budget time and ask to have their taxes reimbursed. Where I first learned about this way was from Sebringville Athletic Association. For years, we paid taxes and couldn't afford it. And we went to Perth South and to Perth East, and they have the ability to grant you your taxes back. Now, everybody's still looking at it to find out why, like George Burkholder, as I have the tax bills here, has paid the money since 1991 out of his pocket. Nice guy, George. I didn't realize he was doing it, but it's actually in his name, Perth County, care George Burkholder. So I'm just giving you a heads up that I'm trying to figure this out for them. If somebody comes up to you in the street and says something to you. Now, maybe Wendy can dodge me and try to figure it out for me too a bit. Thank you.
Wendy, I'll let you comment if you have anything further to add at this time.
Yeah, so we have been investigating this, and so we're just waiting on a few details. So if it would be okay, we could bring back a report with some of those details. A lot has to do with the use of the park or the facility that makes it taxable. So MPAC is looking into, they've been in contact with George and they're waiting on a legal opinion. Some of it has to do with whether, so you mentioned Sebringville. Sebringville Athletic Association is a registered charitable organization where I don't believe the Fish and Gun Club is. But like I said, if we could bring back a report with some of those details that we find out and put it all on paper, that'd be good.
Okay, any other questions on that? That was one of my questions, Wendy, was if they had a charitable status, because we do allow some relief for some charitable organizations. So, but if they're not a charitable organization, and I don't know how difficult it would be for them to achieve that, but we'll leave it with you and you can come back with a report.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Okay, moving on, other business, there's maybe a couple other things we could deal with at this time. Just an update, maybe with regards to the ice. Jeff could maybe deal with that, and then Dan can maybe, well, we've already talked about the meeting on the 21st. So yeah, it's just the ice, I guess, Jeff, at this time.
Sure, I'll provide a quick update, Mayor McKenzie. I asked Darcy. Darcy wasn't planning to attend this evening's meeting, but I know that they're working away at the ice, and I thought council would appreciate a quick update. It kind of marks the changing of the seasons for the recreation seasons for the municipality. So the ice is built up and painted white. The lines are being painted on tomorrow. We'll be further building up the ice on Thursday and Friday and ready to go on Saturday. I also want to just mention to council as an update that we received an inquiry about installing a tribute to honor Carter Schoonerwood. And with the family's support, we are installing the CS, the initial CS and the number 8 in the ice as a vinyl install, and that's going in, and we'll have it for the 2021-2022 ice season. So I just wanted you to be aware that we were putting that into the ice.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Any other updates at this time? I think we pretty well covered them.
I had a question.
Oh, sorry, Dean. Yep, sorry.
After reading the agenda for this meeting, I wanted to ask on the status of the notice of motion that I forwarded earlier this year regarding the littering and illegal dumping. I just wanted to ask staff what the status was on that, progress was on that notice of motion that was carried by council.
Yeah, I can answer that one, and the answer is we just haven't been able to get it done yet. Our enforcement side has been hopping along pretty busy, and we really have to look at options for enforcement, and we haven't been able to get some of that policy work done.
Okay.
One follow-up question,
Yep.
if I may, Your Worship. So what do we foresee as the projected timetable to address the notice of motion?
All I can tell you is we'll make it a priority. Right now we're reacting to enforcement with the number of hours that we've got, and to ask Matt, in addition to his duties that are really rushing along on the building inspection side. This time of year is just not the best. This has been a tough summer to get it done, and I don't want to diminish the importance of the question. I think it's a really good initiative to look into. It's just we haven't been able to put the staff time into it. And if you insist on a date, I think we can go back and talk to Matt and the clerk's department and review the motion and try to have it done for you for the end of the year. So you've got it in case there's budget implications.
Yeah, I would appreciate if staff could review that notice of motion accordingly, so that any budgetary concerns going forward for the next fiscal year can be incorporated into the budget. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Don't see any more hands. All right, so we do have a closed session here to deal with, and motion is that Municipality of West Perth proceeds to a closed session at 8:07 p.m. for the purposes of addressing AMS agreement, a trade secret, or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position of interfere significant with contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or an organization. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose and Deputy Mayor Ike. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. So we're take a few minutes here, I believe, so that we can get set up. Okay, we're good to go. We're out of closed session and back into open session. And the only direction that we have is a recommendation here that the Council of Municipality of West Perth direct staff to enter into an agreement with Automotive Materials Stewardship, AMS, for the removal of household hazardous waste, and that council authorizes the mayor and clerk to sign and seal all necessary documents. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Marshall, Councillor Murray. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. All right, item number 14, confirmatory bylaw. The bylaw number 70, 2021, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Mover and seconder for that bylaw, Councillor Rose, Councillor Bell. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. And finally, motion that we adjourn. We have mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose, Councillor Marshall, all those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.